July 28, 2025. I'd like to appoint Dr. Melton as the secretary to the board.
We're doing the working session.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. Well, let's do the working session first. How about that? Let's call the meeting to order. We're at 6 p.m. on July 28th, 2025. Discussion of tonight's agenda. Do we have any discussion on tonight's agenda? No? Okay. Discussion of consent items. Construction update on the Bath County High School AVEC and Bath County High School HVAC and the middle school renovation with Pax Walker and Ross Tarrant.
Hi, everyone. So we're going to start with the middle school first. So we are, let's say, about 75% complete with design development, which is the phase where we take schematic design ideas, have detailed drawings, so you all see what you're getting for the full renovation of the building. We'll have the 19th at 10 a.m. We'll meet with you at the board building and review the documents with you to make sure you have any questions answered and any updates to the budget. One thing to get in your mind as we approach there is that we are recommending that the sprinkler scope become base bid to the project. You don't have to make a decision now, but we will present our plan and how it might impact the base bid's budget of the project, knowing that we want to be strategic with how any undiscovered holes and openings that would impact the construction of the building, how those get addressed. For example, if we don't proceed with the sprinkler to the building, we'll still make everything fire safe. We'll provide dampers where they need to be. The downside is we won't know where all the existing holes are that are hidden in the building. And because a sprinkler won't be put in potentially, any hole that is remaining will have to be patched, and likely that might be a change order to the project during construction. The difference is on the surface, fire dampers might be 1/10 of the cost of committing to doing sprinklers for the entire building. So while there is a larger initial cost to commit to do sprinklers, if you all feel that it's still okay to proceed as an alternate, so you have flexibility on bid day to choose to have them or not, that's okay. I just wanted to make you aware that it would be a lot simpler for your building safety that we account for the sprinklers to be in the design up front as the base bid. So that way you don't have to worry about a change order to plug up holes that were discovered once walls come down or ceilings come away, and we see there are a lot more openings than what we could see before. So just making you aware that's one piece. It won't change the overall project cost. It's only going to change what you're committing to agree to for construction costs. In total, the project cost is not changing. It's determining whether you want to commit to having sprinklers in the design now or wait until bid day and have that decision.
Jonathan,
Yes.
did we say we did not want to have that sprinklers in the base bid?
Yes, so I believe they are an alternate currently. Yes.
And you're saying that if we have it put in the base bid, it won't change that base bid?
It will not change the project cost. It will change the base bid construction cost. So if you have, I'm going to use rough numbers here, but let's say without sprinklers, your HVAC, your electrical, and your plumbing scope would be, I think, in the ballpark of like $10 million construction. If you were to include the alternate for sprinkler as part of your base bid, it would increase your construction cost to be, say, $12 million. Your project cost is still, I think, no more than 14, but you're moving one thing that was an option into something you're guaranteeing to pay for on bid day. That would reduce your alternates to be like stuff for your elevator, your windows, and your doors. The fourth being sprinkler, which if you want to do that now, we can do that. If you want to leave it to have an option on bid day, that's okay. It just means that if you don't accept it on bid day, I'd hate to come back to you all and say, well, there's actually more openings that have to get plugged up that were discovered. And because there's no sprinkler to protect the building, there's a lot more masonry openings to infill across the entire building. So we can talk about it more in depth during the review meeting. I just wanted to let you be aware that if there's a recommendation to anticipate, we would recommend that sprinklers become a base bid scope item. That way you are minimizing the amount of change orders that you could see if the sprinklers are not actually in the scope on bid day.
Okay. And we can discuss that on the 19th?
Yes.
Okay.
Beyond that, we have received a updated site survey for the entire site. So we're working with that to figure out how much we need to develop the exterior for trenching and utility coordination. We're trying our best to see how far we can separate the power and water supply that are connected to the annex building. Apparently that's currently connected to the middle school. And so if it fits within your budget, and we'll present it to you on the 19th, we're going to try to include it in the scope to disconnect it separate from the middle school, so you have a different way to meter and monitor your water and power usage and capacity at the annex building, and not have it rely on the middle school's water and power. So two things to consider there is the scope, moving an alternate into a base bid to help with an anticipated change order down the road, and the updated scope of us trying to separate the annex building power and water from the middle school. Everything else is what we discussed in the past in terms of what we're trying to do for doors, windows, the roof, the HVAC, plumbing, and an electrical, but I'll get you more details on the 19th so that you have a way to ask us questions.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll turn it over to David to give you high notes on the high school and Laybeck.
A couple things about that sprinkler system is, at the high school we had it as an alternate, and you all accepted it, and so we did the sprinkler system as an alternate. On the middle school, talk about all these fire dampers, so the mechanical contractors, if it's not sprinkled, the contractor's going to have to include a lot of extra work. So if it is in the base bid, that would reduce your mechanical price. Now, it's nothing near what the sprinkler system would cost, but how much of it's going to be sprinkled? I thought some of it was already sprinkled. Well, anyway, 68,000, so probably less than $1 million to sprinkle it. 68,000, say 600,000 to 700,000 would be an estimate to sprinkle.
I thought we were going to have the sprinkler system. Or did we?
Okay.
I did too. I thought we talked about the safety, and we
I-
had
right.
decided to do that. Did we not?
It's in the project for sure.
Yeah.
It's just, we didn't commit to moving it from an alternate because we weren't sure if we wanted to have that flexibility still on bid day. So we're still designing it. We still have a choice if you want to wait until bid day. It's just, would you rather commit to it now or still wait until November and see the number of how much that is before you commit to it?
So, but it would cost us more in the long run if we don't include it now, and then it comes up, we get the work done, there's more holes in the ceiling than what we anticipated, and we have to go back and do something with that, correct?
Greater potential for change orders, yes.
Okay,
If you don't accept it on
Right.
bid day.
right.
Right.
But I thought, I mean, you're dealing with children in a building and it catching fire. The sprinkler system is supposed to delay the fire from spreading as fast for a safety issue. Aren't we required to have it?
You're required to protect the building from fire in general, and another way to do that is fire dampers and plugging up masonry holes or other wall holes or slab holes. and to provide fire-rated wall separations between spaces. So there's different ways to achieve that goal. Sprinklers allows you a lot more flexibility where you don't have to worry about addressing existing conditions or potentially rating things as high as you would, because sprinklers cover that. Difference being the cost of a sprinkler is probably a lot more money because you're committing to compared to dampers, increased fire rating on your doors, and making more walls more fire rated resistance. So you are not required to have a sprinkler. You're required to make sure you are protecting the building from fire. Sprinkler is just one solution to do that.
Okay.
But it will not impact your bid day total unless you decide to save some money and not accept the sprinkler alternate. Downside is you might have a change order coming up for every single hole that needs to get plugged in that we couldn't quite anticipate. We'll try our best to put an allowance or something to help cover it, but there's no way for us to know an exact number until we expose the entire structure and realize the history of past renovations where they covered up holes or small conduit openings that can't be quantified unless you look every single where above ceiling. So we'll do our best to cover it either way. But you're minimizing your change for a change order if you were to accept a sprinkler at bid day.
Okay. Thank you.
So if we accepted this, you're saying we're going to save roughly $1 million if we add it to the base?
Yes, I would say less. Now, was the question about the cost of the sprinkler?
If we add it to the base, we're saving potentially around $1 million.
Oh, no, I'm not, no, you're not saving $1 million. I'm just saying that's probably what it would cost, $600,000 or $700,000 to sprinkle. So what I'm saying, that would increase your base bid, but it would reduce your alternate by that amount. The savings would be elimination of fire dampers, potential change orders that holes would have to be filled, could be, like you say, doors have to be upgraded, maybe some walls have to go up to deck. You know, having a sprinkler system just takes a lot of the questions out of the bid. I mean, I would recommend that you put it in the base bid. Yeah, yes.
I think what I heard your question, Mr. Conkright, was you're going to itemize about $750,000 as a base bid or an alternate item, and would you rather see your base bid go from $9 million to $9.7 million on bid day, or do you want to keep it at 9, knowing that you rejected that sprinkler scope? So in total, it's up to you if you want to commit to it being at minimum $9.7 million now with sprinklers, or wait and see if you feel that the budget allows for you to accept it. But either way, we're budgeting for it in the project. It's just how far do you want to commit to your bid results coming in at a certain target. If you want to keep it as low as possible, we'll keep it as an alternate, and you have more flexibility.
Which means they're going to have to use I'm going to use the word higher quality equipment for the dormers, for fireproofing the walls. They'll have to make those thicker, or a higher, more expensive material will go into that wall.
Correct.
And because we don't have a sprinkler system in our base bid.
Correct.
So what I think what you're saying is we can either have it out of the base bid and it will be X amount of numbers, or you can put it in the base bid and it will be a little bit higher, because when the people bid on it to do the work, they're going to not have, they'll already know, oh, it has a sprinkler system, we don't have to use this more expensive type of dormer, correct?
Correct, yes.
So
And
we're either going to spend it now or spend it later. It's going to be spent no matter what.
Correct.
It's just on how they're going to build the building. Are they going to build it with these dormers and thicker walls and things that meet code for, the fire, since we don't have a sprinkler system? Or they can build it thinner walls, maybe, I don't know if that's a proper term, but less expensive material, less expensive dormers, and we're going to have a sprinkler system. You
Okay.
get one or the other. No, it's for it's open for discussion on the 19th, but he's asking, you know, hey, you all might want to consider putting us in that base bid, because before they send it out to bid, these contractors probably need to know if we're going to have a sprinkler system in place, so they know what type of materials to use to build the middle school.
Correct. Alternate gives you flexibility, which, you know, is at your discretion if you want to have the option. The downside is when you give it to a contractor to bid, it might present the idea, well, there's kind of confusing intents, and so they might have to escalate their cost because they want to prepare themselves for either scenario depending on how you decide to proceed. So flexibility on your end, but it encourages a contractor to try to cover themselves for either scenario, compared to if you commit to being base bid, they know exactly what they're doing, and there's no ambiguity of like how they could price worst case scenario if you don't take the alternate. But either way, we can go either way you want to proceed, and we'll talk about it more in depth when you see the drawings and you see numbers in front of you. But just making you aware that it's not going to be a savings. It's just, would you want to commit to it now or still wait and see it on bid day before you make a decision?
But on bid day, just so you all understand, if they're going to bid it prior to bid day, and you're going to show us those numbers, the people who have bid are making the bid based on us not having a sprinkler system in place. So their bid will be a little higher because they're going to cover themselves for what they could encounter when they get in there. Or we can say right now, go ahead and assume that that's going to be in the base bid with the sprinkler systems. That way they don't try to overcompensate on the bid for what they may find once they get into that building. Because they're going to have to use they can use a less expensive material if they know there's a sprinkler system going in up front.
I didn't quite hear that question, sorry.
Well, it's on the agenda right now. I mean, we can do it in the real session, but that's what he's asking right now. He's just throwing that out there for us to think about.
Yeah, just an update on like, here's something to keep on your radar. We'll let you have time to digest it, ask questions at the meeting. You don't have to make any decisions today on the middle school. I just want to make you aware that those are recent updates that you might want to anticipate for us to talk about in more in depth on the 19th. And to Ms. Bowling's point, because we have to do bid packages, it's not necessarily saying that the sprinkler contractor is going to overestimate their costs. It's more about the other trades who have to work around that, like the mechanical contractor. They're not sure which way they're going to go, but they see in the documents that there's a base bid intent to do fire dampers. So they'll price that. Well, they'll see that there's an alternate that would affect them sprinkler-wise, and they might say, well, I don't know which way they're going to go. It's going to be literally on bid day where they decide, the board, you all. So they might say, well, to cover ourselves, we're going to say, well, our mechanical scope is a little higher because we are unsure if we're having a sprinkler or not. Same thing might be true for your electrical contractor or your plumbing contractor. So it would be better for you in terms of options, keep it as an alternate. It would be better for you in terms of like a realistic budget line item for an accurate estimate if it was in the base bid, because they know for sure this is what we're proceeding with that impacts their mechanical scope or plumbing scope. But we'll talk more in depth for sure.
All right, the high school, we're wrapping both the LAVEC and the high school projects. We're nearly complete working on punch lists. Look at this. We got a change order for PR34. We're starting on, that's some brickwork, and starting this week, finish that up. That's in the kitchen and the mechanical room there. And Wednesday this week, I think we'll start waxing for the 3 areas where we have the new floor, and that's in be what I call the old main entrance, and the main entrance to the gym, and then the Sterling Health room, as I understand it. Working on some hardware corrections, trying to get that out. They did an inspection, I think, maybe a week ago, whatever. So we're working on those corrections that were discovered, and we did did the asphalt paving on the layback. That was under that project. And so we did complete the paving. We got some graphics. We still have the graphics. They're on site now, so could possibly put those on this week. And so I think August 12th, we're showing that substantial completion. And so we're slowly, surely getting out of there, finishing up.
Have you all talked with Ms. Brandenburg, and has she done a walkthrough with you all yet?
Ms. Foley and I'm not sure. She and Mr. White, our field guy, they stay in pretty good communication. And I would think Mr. Thompson and others may be taking a walkthrough as well.
Okay. I just
And
didn't
now,
know if they had.
and then you know, the design team, they've been through the project as well. They've provided a punch list, so that's what y'all provided all of it, or most of it. Yeah, they still have to do the gym, but I think everything's been
Okay. 'Cause I
inspected.
hadn't talked to Tim or Mr. Detwilder to see, on all the work that's ending and finished, if we had gone and done, you know, with the punch list with them. I know Ms. Brandenburg had quite a few things that she wanted to have them look at before they left. So what was the decision on the hallway that was it was painted on one side and not painted on the other? What came of that? So is it a hallway or is it a room? Okay. I was under the impression it was a hallway. Right. Okay. It was brought to my attention and I didn't know, and since we're discussing it, I thought I'd ask.
So to that effect, I'm not sure the exact locations that were mentioned with Tim, but he's correct. If we only did a partial, if we did a window, we're not going to paint the whole room because the budget didn't allow. Granted, if we want to change that intent for the middle school project where we don't want to be selective with certain walls getting painted, we can do that, but ultimately to be mindful and respectful of the budget, it is if we touch something on a wall, then we would recommend that it gets painted in the scope. If we want to change that for the middle school, we can do that. We can let you know how much that would impact the overall budget, just so that there's no surprise later about a single hallway wall or a classroom wall getting one color and everything else remaining the same. But just as a reminder, if the windows do get replaced at the middle school, the same intent would be done, that we would only paint one wall and only work around the windows on that one wall unless you all say do the whole room, and we can do that.
Okay.
On the agenda for the high school, I'll just mention that for consideration, you have a testing and balancing service invoice from Thermal Balance. So their original contract was about $25,000. So far, they've previously invoiced about $9,000. And today, since a lot of the HVAC work was contingent on the gym area, they're invoicing for a good majority of the balance of about $13,000. It's not the full contract amount at that point. That would mean that they have invoiced for $22,000 out of the $25,000 that they originally asked for in their agreement. But ultimately, that's what they're asking for is let's say a good half, if not, about half of their overall original amount. And we think that's a fair amount considering that a big bulk of it was the gym that's been recently done. Tim is correct though. In that service, they identify some issues that the contractor is addressing so that way the controls are operating correctly. And they're not built out fully, so they'll definitely be on site to help address any things that need to be fixed moving forward, or at least identifying those things to get fixed. But that's on the agenda. Item number 10 is related to PR 37. So as David mentioned, they're already starting on the above the kitchen mechanical room area where there was that constant leak that's been happening in the kitchen. That change order you all, I think, approved back in June or May to go ahead and take out the brick, do the flashing. That way you have a way to stop water from coming down. In front of you today is another $6,319.25. This is not for that brick. This is not for that flashing. This is for all the holes that are higher up on the wall that are actually allowing water to come in and keep testing your flashing. If we don't proceed to plug those up now for that price, your flashing will do the best it can, but there's no guarantee that flashing won't get challenged in 5 to 10 years from now. So we would recommend that you not only continue with the work that's already been approved, but potentially recommend approving that additional cost. So that way all the holes that were verified by a hose test, literally they took a hose and put it against the entire wall and saw where all the water was coming in. They found all the spots. They're going to plug them up, recaulk them, redo the mortar, and that should stop a lot of the water from coming in. And even if it does, you have your flashing to stop it from coming down.
Okay.
So that's masonry repair work that was not already incorporated for the flashing brick replacement that was down low. The last one would be special inspections. That technically is for the Layvec project. For that, we had them come and assess the asphalt work that was done with that change order. And so we had a few control spots that would look to be the most problematic, and they were on site to assess to make sure that the entire asphalt itself needs to be replaced. And if it did, they went the full depth of that asphalt and replaced it. They did not do the soils piece, so I think that's where I was unclear with my note about reviewing soil conditions. In fact, it was not the soil, it was the entire depth of the asphalt and stone base. That's what they saw and inspected whether if it was needed to be fully replaced or if they can just mill the top layer and pour a new layer on top. A lot of your asphalt is just milled and overlaid with new. The select areas that we had them assess were, I think, a total of, I would have to get the square yards of what that total number was. But they verified it, and that is what ultimately confirmed how far they had to go beyond just milling the top layer and putting a new top layer on.
So this isn't, number 11, it's not a change order and it's not a credit or a debit to the balance. It's just getting a service.
Correct. Just like number 9, it's them saying out of the original contracted amount, which was about $26,585, they're billing about $1,800 of that just to do the change order work, not added to the project, just invoicing against that agreed upon balance. And so far to date, with that included, they've only billed $5,610. So they overestimated what they thought they needed to do for this project, and if nothing else is needed from them, they would only need to get paid a total of $5,600 out of the original $26,585. So in net total at the end of it all, you would be saving money that you were anticipated to spend But this is not an ad, it's not a savings, it's just billing against a total.
Okay. But we could possibly save a lot of money on number 9, and we might end up coming back and spending it in number 11.
Correct. So,
Okay.
yes, that difference of whatever doesn't get spent on Ellie Gregg, you would be able to see that reconciled at closeout on your BG1 form, BG4 and BG5 documents,
Gotcha.
where
Sorry about
that $20,000 is removed from the project total.
That'd be
But
nice.
today, no credit. At the
Okay.
end, yes, credit. And that's everything.
that. Alrighty. We like a credit.
Yes.
We'll take those all day long.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay. Discussion of the annual KSBA policy and procedure updates. Do we have that?
Yeah,
Ready?
yeah.
Do you want to go over it?
Well, I can kind of go over it.
Okay.
The review, and of course, last time you had your first reading and you approved all except, I think we decided on the parental leave options that's not due to 2030 to keep those as current policy. We did the same thing with the classified, option with that as well. And you tabled 8.2323, which is the revised access to electronic media, which is going to be our first reading that's on the agenda. And I think everything else that you all had approved in the first reading, is that not correct, Shelley? That's what I understood from reading and also watching the last month's meeting.
Okay. And then there's no more discussion of the first reading of the policy of 08.2323 traceable communication. And then there's discussion of the traceable communication platforms and systems for the Bath County schools. Correct?
Yeah, on item 6 there, we will read the traceable communications KSBA policy that you all tabled it last month, and will be my recommendation to take that and accept it because it is the law. And then number 7, discussion traceable communication platforms. And Dr. Griffith, correct me if I'm wrong, what we have planned or thought so far is to use our Google email account through the district, use our Google Classroom, and also allow Class Dojo for the elementaries. But that's kind of where we're at as far as, because we have to have access to the back door or the administrative side of those platforms. So that's kind of those ones we already have. And Class Dojo, that's conversation between adults. Students aren't communicating on Class Dojo, so we felt that that would be fine for the elementaries.
Let me ask you a question about when it comes to it, because it's not really, I think in the reading it said with coaches, with teams, because we've got, sports and stuff. What communication is a coach going to use for teams? Like when they're out, I'm going to use the example when what just happened in Louisville. The coaches were unable to text those kids to make sure all their kids, if their parents weren't there, that they were out of that building. What form is our coaches going to have to be able to communicate with their children other than email?
Well, my understanding currently, we would, with what we have currently, if we want to have that access, then there's a substantial cost most likely for those platforms. Because most of the ones that are out there right now that give us full access to that have a pretty good price tag with them as far as setup and all that. If that's the will of the board, we definitely can do that. But we feel like that Senate Bill 181 in time is going to go away. So do we make that investment now? That's totally a board decision.
Well,
Yeah.
they've been using like Team Reach and different platforms like that, but now the way it's set, the coach cannot communicate with the kids.
Yes.
Period. There's none. So what's happening is on, like, I'll use Team Reach as an example. The kids are on there and the parents are on there, and the coach has selected a parent to be in full control, and then that parent communicates back to the coach everything the coach needs. The problem there's always a problem. If you've got a parent who works, and most people work, they're not fully accessible at the time when a coach needs an answer on maybe a size, or are we having this game? Is it too hot? Can you tell the kids the AD said tomorrow's going to be 100? We can't have our scrimmage. It's very difficult.
It is.
So I know I've been asked, what's the plan, so to speak. So, and I'm sure, and I don't know unless some of you guys may know, if there's another way or suggestion for coaches to communicate with the kids.
Dr. Griffith, if you wouldn't mind. I can't hear you.
I'll try to keep this short, and I know this is complicated. Aside from the Google Suite that we have, which includes Gmail, which includes Google Classroom, we also have Google Calendar, and all of those email addresses can be included in there. And at the elementary school, Class Dojo, we've also asked our coaches and those volunteers to take that content, if it's a picture they made on Canva or something like that, send it to the principal, send it to the guidance counselor, put it on their social media there with the school, put it on the district website. Dr. Bailey did mention something. I had talked about this with Dr. Melton before, and I'm not sure if the board has considered this or not. There is also the possibility of an exception with the district can approve a consent where, do you understand the language on that, Dr. Melton? You know what I'm talking about? He did have a waiver. Dr. Melton did have some concerns about a waiver, but that is something that the board can also pursue if they wish to do so.
Okay. I just, it is difficult. It's hard for the coach when she comes to well, I'm using soccer as an example, but when she shows up at practice, and she can't get a text from a kid that says, hey, I'm on my way, or I'm 10 minutes out, or there's a car wreck, that kid has to, because they're with their parent, but the parent's usually one driving, and that parent can't send a text to that. You see what I'm saying? It's just been a big kind of gray area.
Right.
And, safety is number one. And coaches, there's a lot of parents that don't sometimes go to away games or come to games. And
Right.
someone has to be responsible for that child, and it usually falls on the coach when they're there. And they're
Correct.
riding the bus back with this kid, or, for pickup purposes. There's a multitude list of why a coach would need to talk to the child, communicate when they're not standing right beside them. So I have been questioned on that multiple times.
So, for example, we do have someone here we do have a person here that's a district employee who got a Facebook message just a bit ago, has not replied to it, but it literally said, hey, can I get a copy of a Bible? That's hard. That's really, really tough. And so we understand the situation that everybody's in. Now, there's some other districts that have approved other platforms, but when we reach out to those ones, they say, no, it doesn't have this, or you got to do this. And so we've actually reached out to Emily Barber, who's our KDE engineer, and she says, no, according to the law, that doesn't work. So I do suggest that maybe if you want to have follow-up, and maybe table the possibility of having that waiver as a way around some of that as well too, particularly for our coaches and folks that maybe aren't tech savvy. It does create a little bit more work on our part because we have to, make sure that that's documented at central office who has that access. But there exists that as well too. There are costs involved with some of the two platforms that we've found that do allow that. For example, Class Dojo, the parents can communicate back and forth with the teachers. That's not a problem whatsoever. However, you don't have that with students. So that's not, for elementary students, that's fine, but it really doesn't work for high school because, there's where the law was basically created because of middle school students and high school students, not because of a second grader. And so there are some other platforms out there like Daptogee, like Parent Square. One's $15,800 for us the first year. The other one's $16,400 for us. And they are all compliant, but as Dr. Melton said, he has some concern with is the law going to change January 1? Are they going to repeal parts of it? Are we going to spend $15,000, $16,000 for something that's used for 3 or 4 months? How many parents are going to be using that over 3 or 4 months? I mean, it's a legitimate concern.
Oh, yeah. Well,
'Cause-
even kids in high school, I mean, they can't even email their teacher or ask them questions.
Right,
You know, it's, how do you study for a class when while you're studying, you have a question for a test?
right.
So, you know, we all want our kids to do good. We all want them to move
Exactly.
forward. Sometimes you gotta have an answer to that question in order to know what you're doing, so you're prepared for the test. So
Right.
it's difficult.
It's difficult.
And I think it's the will of the board. If you all want us to investigate, just like Dr. Griffith said, we're talking $16,000 counting the initial setup. Or part of the policy, the waiver is attached as a part of the policy, the standard. We can, if it's the board's will, we can go that route. It just means that we've got to keep up with and make sure all waivers are compliant and that we have them for every child that has communication with an adult employee that, is in charge of them.
And, of course, I'm old school, but when you have a paper trail, which would be a text, or you have an email, or as long as there's a trace of what is
Right.
on both ends, what's being said back and forth, to me, you're safer with a trail than you are with he said, she said.
Right. Well, part of the reason for having the waiver was, the part that makes it difficult is making sure that parents and students are all in that same conversation so the parents can access that, if that makes sense. So if the parent does sign off on that portion of it, that does, and correct me if I'm wrong, Shelley, but I think that satisfies that portion of it. So,
Okay. I think that's definitely something the board should look at.
It's all new law. It's all very challenging.
yes.
And I think everybody is just struggling, really, to
Right.
comply with this. And I think perhaps you may want to present various platforms, Dr. Melton, Dr. Griffith, and to the board, and with the cost, as
You-
well.
you want me
And
to
then
do
some
that?
of the other alternatives and other things. And I'm glad to look at whatever you have
Okay.
and see that we comply, because we certainly need to. And our timing, school's starting, and I think that's going to be another challenge for parents.
Right. Just getting over that hurdle of learning something new. I know a lot of people that just adopted Facebook in the last year. So, but I do have a document already prepared for Dr. Melton that has all of the mainstream platforms that are compliant, and then all the ones below it that aren't, and the reason why they're not. And that's really, really important. For example, Class Dojo is a good one, but it doesn't meet that two-way student teacher thing. We've got Sports U, which is a free app, which is great, but and there are a lot of teams using that, but if you actually contact them to say, hey, how can we get into those messages? They say, well, you have to contact us for that. No, that doesn't give us access. That means, that's no different than saying we need a court order to get a Facebook message retrieved. So if we have to contact somebody else to get in there, then that means we don't have access. So, and it's very frustrating for us. Nobody wants to break the law. Nobody wants to think that their license and livelihood could be impacted forever. So it's very tenuous for us. And if you know anybody that can make a difference at the state level, please reach out to them, because, we're all in a tough spot. Thank you all. Appreciate you.
That's pretty much what I was going to tell you is what we recommend right now. And if we all look at let's present options for approval in August, we can do that.
Okay.
I think you can have everything next month, we can look at everything on God. So it might be a situation where those, because we can always add to the list.
Okay. Well, the problem is, with, like he just said, August, school is starting. Our meeting won't be until the fourth Monday of August. So it's gonna be cutting it close to when school starts. But all kids should have access to ask teachers questions, because all kids are gonna have questions. And even if you have a little child and they bring home their homework, the parent's gonna have questions on how to do stuff, because it's totally changed back since we went to school. And, I mean, I've been that parent where I've needed to talk to the teacher, and now I have a high school child, and she just talks directly to her teacher so that they can tell her because she understands what went on in class, and she knows what questions to ask. I wouldn't have a clue, you know. So, it's just the way it is, you know. At the elementary level, the parents need to be able to be in contact. High school level, it's going to be the kids, and I'd say it's a combination in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. You know, so we're going to have something. Sorry. Okay, so we're ready to adjourn? All right, we're going to adjourn. I'm sorry, I'm gonna call the Bath County meeting to order at 7:01 on July 28th, 2025. I'd like to appoint Dr. Melton as the secretary to the board and the secretary to the Bath County Schools Financial Corporation. I'll make that motion. Okay. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of this motion signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All that oppose? Motion passes. Number 3 is discussion and possible action on tonight's agenda.
I make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Motion by Eric. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Was that Ashley?
Yeah.
Second by Ashley. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. All that oppose? Okay. Number 4, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we're going to move on to number 5. Silent motion. Please take a moment for silent devotion. Number 5 is going to be the Spotlight Credit Recovery Program. Dr.
You
Melton,
all
will you
should
present?
have, there you go. You all should have a paper in your folders or in your packet that you could take a look at. I'm going to give you just kind of a little snapshot. Last week, I had the privilege of representing Bath County at the Kentucky Association for School Administrators Conference as the MTSS lead for our district. Our credit recovery program has had such a great, successful past few years, and I kind of condensed it down to this one. Of course, it was an hour presentation. I'm not going to have you sit through an hour, but if you'll take a look at this real quick. When I first came to the district, Tier 3 at the high school was definitely our credit recovery program. We had 2 teachers, 2 full classrooms all day long. 112 students were enrolled. We did not have any progress monitoring. What was happening was the kids were staying on one course for several semesters. Now, the classroom was quiet. There was a lot of, the management in the classroom was really good, but we just weren't tracking those kids to making sure that the progress was happening. So then what happened was I said, let's put some progress monitoring in there. So after that, we were condensed down to 1 teacher with 1 assistant, and we went down to 88 students. Progress monitoring was introduced. Students set individual goals for themselves, and I was there for support. That year, the very first year, we only recovered 27% of our credit. That year, we went up to 70% of the courses recovered. Then we went a step further, and we implemented even more. So we went down to 1 teacher, and we brought in 2 retired teachers. And I don't know if you know these ladies, but we have Tiffany Scholler. She's our reading and she works with our reading kids and works with social studies. And then we have Dinah Stone, who is, she's a retired math teacher. She is phenomenal. And so we have those 2 ladies in there. We went down to 47 students. I was also there support. We started weekly PLCs. They named and claimed kids. If I had to go to their house, talk to their families, build those relationships, it's just phenomenal what we've had happen. That year, with the targeted supports, 97% of our courses were recovered. And then we kept the same structures in place last year. We were even able to implement a Tier 2 support. So not only were they recovering classes they failed, but we were going in the classes that they were in person. if they were missing assignments, we were able to help them get those caught up too, so that hopefully they weren't going to be back in credit recovery again the next semester. And we had 95% credit recovery. So it's just been phenomenal. It's rippled out to other districts. So our small little Bath County is making big impacts in larger districts. We've just done a phenomenal job. So
That's great. Thank you for your hard work on all that. Okay, we're on number 6, Superintendent and Board Communications.
First of all, I want to commend the Bath County Bass Fishing Team and read a letter from them to the board that I've received today. Dear Bath County Board of Education, we would like to sincerely thank Dr. Melton and board members for your generous support in helping fund our trip to the Bass Junior National Fishing Championship in Evans, Georgia. Thanks to your contribution, we were able to represent our school with pride and compete at a high level. Boat Captain Jason Wells, along with anglers Brady Wells and Zeke Brock, are proud to share that they placed 29th out of 120 teams. This experience has been a great deal to us, and it wouldn't have been possible without the school's support. Thank you again for believing in our team and making this opportunity a reality. Sincerely, Jason Wells, Brady Wells, and Zeke Brock. And of course, they signed that, and I was very pleased. They did a tremendous job with that. Last week, this month, I've attended the KDC AI Summit. I attended the KSA Annual Leadership Institute along with Dr. Bailey, Stephanie Donahue, Dr. Griffith, and Kim went last week, and of course had the honor, as Stephanie had mentioned, of being able to watch her dropout prevention and credit recovery presentation, and it was very well received and very well done, and we're very lucky to have the program that they developed. Our district administrative team has met several times, and we're in the process of reviewing PLC protocols, reviewing our professional development schedule and topics, and looking at ways to increase our classroom instruction, which we know is always important. And we're going to have a district director meeting tomorrow to review several of those topics and develop plans and timelines for implementations. As a part of the superintendent and board communications, you've got personnel actions and fundraisers that are attached for your approval.
Number 7 is discussion and possible action on approving the following items. A, June 23rd, 2025 minutes. B, June financial statement. C is claims. D, superintendent expenditures. E is travel. Review of all monthly financial reports of all funds. Pay bills through July 31st, 2025. Fiscal year 25 annual financial report. Superintendent growth plan, grant for fresh fruit and vegetables for CES and OES, transportation cost per mile, rate for the fiscal year 2026, certified evaluation plan, updated 2025-2026 extra service salary schedule, district code of acceptable behavior and discipline handbook, Gateway Communication Service Organization, Incorporation Disability Service Agreement for the 2025-2026 school year, Office of Vocational Rehabilitation, MOA, Board Secretary position and job description. An additional preschool teacher position at CES is due to an increase in enrollment. Add speech language pathology assistant position and accept bid with Whipfleet for the geothermal tax credit. Do I have a motion to approve items A through T, excluding item U?
I make a motion to,
Did I what? No, it's excluded.
so we're only approving items A through T?
Yes,
So I make a motion to approve items A through T.
thank you. Do I have a second? Who was that, Kim or? Kim? Thank you. Is there any discussion? All in favor of approving items A through T and excluding item U signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Okay, all those that oppose? Okay. Number 8 is public comments. Do we have any public comments turned in? Did anybody? Okay. Number 9 is discussion and possible action on the Bath County High School HVAC renovation, BG number 22-376, approval of the testing and balancing services from Thermal Balance Incorporated.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Eric. Motion made by Eric,
I'll second. Ashley.
second by Ashley. Thank you. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those that oppose, motion passes. Discussion and possible action on the Bath County High School renovation, BG number 22-376, approval change order proposal for PR 37-30 masonry tuck pointing associated with leaks near the kitchen and the gym. Do I have a motion to approve the BCHS renovation, BG 22-376 change order proposal, PR 37?
I will make that motion.
Motion made by Eric, second by Ashley. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes. All those that oppose, motion passes. Discussion and possible action on the Bath County High School LAVEC Phase 2 project, BG number 22-520, the approval of special inspection services from the L.E. Gregg for reviewing soil conditions associated with the asphalt pavement change order. Do I have a motion to approve the BCHS LAVEC Phase 2 project, BG 22-520, special inspection services? Motion approved by Kim, made by Kim, second by
Second.
Eric. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes. All those that oppose, motion passes. Discussion and possible action on the second reading and review of the 2025-2026 KSBA annual policy and procedure reviews. Do I have a motion to approve the second reading and review of the 2025-2026 KSBA annual policy procedure reviews, except for the following policies, which the board voted to retain in their current form: 09.2 student welfare and wellness, and also 03.1233 and 03.2233, certified and classified maternity leave. Motion by
I'll make that motion.
Eric, second by Ashley. Is there any discussion? All those in favor by saying yes. Yes. All those that oppose, motion carries. Discussion and possible action on the first reading of the policy .8.2323, traceable communications. Do I have a motion to approve at first reading on policy 08.2324, traceable communication?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Eric, second by Kim. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes. All those that oppose, motion passes. Discussion and possible action on traceable communication platforms for Bath County schools. Do I have a motion to approve the Bath County Schools traceable communication platforms systems using district Google email, Google Classroom, and Class Dojo?
I make that motion for two-way traceable communication.
Motion made by Eric, second by Ashley. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those that oppose? Motion passes. Discussion and possible action on traceable systems,
I make a motion to table this item.
and have our board attorney research this for more and give the board more clarification.
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those that oppose? Motion is tabled. Other business. Is there any other business? No? Okay. Motion to adjourn,
I make a motion.
made by Eric. Second by Ashley. All in favor? All those that oppose? Motion passed.